Hello, Dr. Subhadra. Nice meeting you.
Nice to see you, Rajshri.
Yeah, I've never met before. I think I did attend a couple of EHSC conferences, but it was for a brief time and I couldn't really be there for a long time. So I don't remember seeing you there, but I hear that you do attend a couple of them. You did attend, I believe. But hopefully we'll see you sometime whenever we get to meet. So I would like to first thank you to have you over to this Zoom meeting, especially with your valuable, time that you are so busy in your busy schedule. You did make up some time for us. That's very nice of you. So I'll start asking. The first thing that I would like to know is that uh, uh, currently at LV Prasad, what does your work involve, and how long have you been with LV Prasad?
So I joined, excuse me, I joined LV Prasad Institute in 1991.
Wow.
Seems centuries ago. Yeah, I joined as a student there as a fellow after finishing my post-graduation from PGI Chandigarh. And 91, all the Kashmiri Pandits left Kashmir in turmoil, and that is when I landed in Hyderabad from Kashmir and became a fellow. And then 93, after completing 2-year fellowship, I was offered a faculty position and I joined as a faculty and I'm there since then. Jeena yahan, marna yahan. Over the years, I have, graduated and then post-graduated or whatever. The highest level. I'm now director of quality. So I'm in charge of quality control and quality improvement across the network, which includes about 200 centers. So it's a prestigious position. And also I am director of NEHA, that is Newborn Eye Health Alliance, across the network. So I look after the vision and eye care of newborn babies and set up policy and advocacy and treatment protocols for these babies.
Oh, so this is just hatke question. So when you look at these babies and all, especially when they have issues, how do you handle them emotionally and as well as being strong woman to make sure that it doesn't affect you? Or how do you manage that?
So yeah, it's a very precarious situation, but I think, some things happen. I'm not very well versed whether there's God or not, but yeah, I think some things happen. I remember that in my grade 1, we had a play. I was very fond of plays. I'm a trained artist, a stage artist. Okay. So in that play, this was like, I was maybe 6 years, I think, or 7 years. So this was a doll's hospital. So we are 10 girls and our dolls are sick. And we are all in a line and there's a doctor who comes and then he's treating everybody's doll. Okay. So if somebody has stomachache and he gives something and somebody needs an injection and somebody needs a thermometer. So they're just playing like that. And myself, when I come in the end, I'm the last person, he says, your doll is dead. Oh. So I think today, parents will not allow their child to have a play like that. They're too protective or they're too concerned about the psychological impact of this. But I think this is very important. And in that play, I had to have an emotion to cry that my doll is dead and everybody else's doll is going to be well. So I think that was one of the first exposure that, medical science does not cure everything. And there will be opportunities and instances where you do your best, but still the child can die, or, in our case, in eye care, the child can become blind or may come blind. And you need to deal with that situation. I think, that early exposure, somewhere back of my mind, I think it was preparing me for a very challenging role of, telling the parents the bad news. And when I look at something, the good thing is that I've been very well trained in taking care of these babies. I was one of the first few doctors in the country to look after newborn eye care. That I trained in 1998. That is 7 years after joining. And ours was the first program for the whole city.
Mm-hmm.
Because after receiving my training in Michigan with Dr. Michael Tracy, who's a very
Mm-hmm.
famous newborn eye care specialist,
Mm-hmm.
I came back and it was very natural for me to think that I need to look at eyes of all the newborns in my city. And
Okay.
I didn't know at that time that I'm the first one to do it. I thought All India Institute must be doing it for Delhi and
Uh-huh.
Shankar Chaturalaya must be doing it for Chennai and
Uh-huh.
PGI must be doing it for whole of Chandigarh and Punjab. And
Uh-huh.
since I've come to Hyderabad and Secunderabad twin cities, so naturally I have to go and see all the babies.
Huh.
So I used to take my car at 8 o'clock in the morning and
Mm-hmm.
go around the city. So mostly this blindness happens in the children who are in the incubators,
Hmm.
those who are premature or IVF babies. So then I would start from one end of the city, and by evening 6, 7, I would have screened all the 20, 30 hospitals and begged them to allow me to come in. Many of them threw me out initially.
Uh-huh.
They thought that coming from LV Prasad Institute, this must be some research project.
Mm-hmm.
This must be some, evidence-based medicine happening, and our babies don't become blind. Our
Uh-huh.
babies are fine. So there was a lot of resistance, but anyway, over a period of time, they realized that this was very critical. And I
Mm-hmm.
would go around the whole city seeing all these babies and counseling the parents, trying to treat. I mean, it was first time for me also. So
Yeah.
it took some time and I
Mm-hmm.
had my failures and I had my challenges.
Mm-hmm.
It would take me 2, 3 hours to treat one baby. So then I had my small children. I would, at the end of the day, I would come home, feed my children, make them sleep, or sometimes if they were not sleeping, pack them back in the car. And
Uh-huh.
11 in the night, I would get the machine to treat because that time we had only one machine. It was
Huh.
used in the theater in the
Hmm.
daytime. So
Hmm.
11 in the night, I would load it in the dicky of my car and
Hmm.
then go back 10 miles to that one baby or two babies who needed treatment
Hmm.
and treat till 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. or whatever time it took. Sometimes my children were there with me in the playroom of that hospital, sleeping with the nurse.
Huh.
Then I would come back at 3, and then morning we have to be at LV Prasad Institute 7 a.m. So back to work
Wow.
at 7. So I did this for many, 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 many years, but now
Hmm.
I have raised a whole army of soldiers, more than 350 people trained, and
Uh-huh.
almost blindness free of newborn blindness of retinopathy of prematurity, which I did. So it is challenging to tell the mothers or the parents. They are very young couples.
Mm-hmm.
The child is not going to see because somebody did not send for eye checkup. That's
Hmm.
the commonest cause of blindness.
Mm-hmm.
And these parents are devastated. They have no empowerment. They don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
The in-laws throw the mother out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
They say you produced a blind child, so you brought a curse to the family. The
Mm-hmm.
husband may abandon, or sometimes they may go into severe psychological stress.
Hmm.
And I need to counsel them. Fortunately, I also had a premature baby in
Okay.
11. And one
Okay.
month I was in the hospital with my premature baby, and
Mm-hmm.
he had a lot of challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't speak till 4 years. He was labeled as autistic. We had to go through a lot of therapy. And I think, again, this was something which prepared me for my role later in the decades to come.
Mm-hmm.
Today, fortunately, he's fine. He's just cleared his MBA
Wow.
very well. So while this whole story of the children in the hospital was going on, I was also taking care of my preterm baby and his issues simultaneously. And I must say that it was my husband who
Mm.
completely supported me.
Mm.
My family wanted me to leave the job and be at home for the baby.
Mm.
But he said what she's doing is very critical
Mm.
and she has trained for it. And if somebody has to stay at home, I will stay. But she
Okay.
will go to work.
Creditive. It's worth me. I feel so good to hear all this. Hats off to you. And my Shata Pranam to you.
No, no, you don't have to do Chhatra Pranam to me. There are women
No.
who do amazing work, much more than me. I know that. But
No,
yeah, I'm also.
I always say doctors are next to God. I don't know, whatever you put in so much of effort wholeheartedly, and it's not easy for you physically and emotionally to be strong to make sure the patient is doing better. You have that aim. It's not that easy. It needs really, you have to be really strong and with full determination and dedication. So hats off to you actually. So now you have already told me more about your family and the background and your experiences. How did you decide to choose this career? What was your motivation? Any role model or anything that you had in mind? That, of course, that incident that you talked about that was building your, psychologically it was building you up. But then, was there any incident or anything that made you get into medicine and into ophthalmology or something like that?
Yeah, I have to tell you that my journey of life was possibly set the day I was born.
Okay.
I was the second child in a joint family. My father was the youngest son in the family, and I was his second child. I had an older brother who was a year and a half.
Okay.
Story goes, which I used to hear again and again in my joint family when I was a child, that the day I was born, my father danced in the hall.
Hmm.
And his sister, he had only one sister, scolded him.
Hmm.
Why are you dancing? It's
Hmm.
only a girl.
Hmm.
And he was very upset
Hmm.
that why did she say this sentence? It's only a girl.
Hmm.
So he said, I want to show the world who has come to my house.
Hmm.
And then he did not have a big job, but he took a loan, and he arranged a huge feast. We
Hmm.
call it Vazwan in Kashmir, which is
Hmm.
a wedding feast of
Hmm.
16-course dinner.
Hmm.
And on my birth, he organized that.
Hmm.
And when I was growing, my cousins and all would always look at me and say, hey, don't tell her anything. She's her father's pet. Her
Yeah.
father did a Vazwan when she was born.
Huh.
That used to give me so much confidence in my childhood. I was a rebel, I was a tomboy, I used to be running up and down the trees. But I always knew that my father is with me and
Huh.
I can take on the whole world.
Huh.
And when I was 2 years old, my sister was born.
Hmm.
And my mother says the day she was born, I just picked that baby up and put her to my tiny breasts and said, she's going to feed by me.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm going to feed her. I'm going to change her diapers.
Huh.
I'm her nanny. So
Hmm.
somewhere I think that that emotion was there, that I have to take care of
Yeah.
people.
Huh.
And by the time I was 5, I knew I have to be a doctor. There
Wow.
was
Huh.
no doctor in my family.
Huh.
I didn't even know what doctors do.
Huh.
But I think from beginning it was there that I have to love people and I have to care for them. And I was very strong. My mother used to teach me
Hmm.
all the time.
Hmm.
She was a wonderful lady. She would tell me, women have to be very strong.
Hmm.
She would never allow herself or me to cry. And, I used to read Tagore,
Mhm.
when the mind is without fear and the head is held high.
Mhm.
I always followed that, fearless. I was fearless all the time. And we also in Kashmir had this Kashmir Shaivism discourses every Sunday.
Hmm.
Advaita philosophy is taught. And we had an ashram, Swami Lakshmanju's ashram. I
Hmm.
was tiny. I wasn't, as I said, I was not very convinced there's a God. I'm still not. But those philosophies, those practices of life, what is life about? What are you doing in this world? Those philosophies kept on hammering and ingraining into my mind as I was growing up.
Hmm.
So this whole work of being strong, of being caring for everybody else, not discriminating anybody, and having an inner purpose, a bigger purpose of life. And then my grandfather, he was a famous scholar of Sanskrit and Persian, and it is he who named me Subhadra
Yeah.
from the Mahabharat. And he
Huh.
had a huge library of Hindi literature, Hindi dramas, and Mahabharat. Full Mahabharat was in his house.
Hmm.
And, we used to read all these books. So
Hmm.
from childhood,
Hmm.
reading and introspecting, very good culture of India, I think came up. And that, shaped who I am.
Hmm.
In 91, when we had to leave our house, our family was killed there by terrorists, the things were burned down. In spite of that,
Hmm.
and we had to leave that place, there was not a single moment of despair.
Hmm.
There was not a single moment of anger at anybody or any community.
Hmm.
I still love everyone, and I have no grief or anger at anybody, I just think that, Satyam Shivam Sundaram, that is my mantra.
Mm.
Just look at beauty, be calm, do your work, and spread happiness and, love.
That's so
I think
nice of you.
anything
I
more,
had a classmate while I was in ninth grade who had to leave Kashmir, and um, she did tell me what they went through, the whole family and all, how they had to leave everything and come. She is also a doctor, actually. So she, I feel that based on your experiences, you develop yourself, shape up yourself so well, and accept all kinds of calamities or anything, and
yeah.
spread happiness in everything. So these were your what were your challenges while you were doing your studies and your MBBS and all, apart from the experiences that you had? Did you face any discrimination there when you were doing your MBBS, or later on when you moved to Hyderabad? Did you feel that being a woman as such, you had to struggle more than others or anything like that? Any experience you had, or you were all fine as such and you didn't really had any trouble or so?
So actually, my struggle started because I had a severe head injury when I was 4 year old. A
Hmm.
big brick fell on my head and I had a depressed fracture of the skull. And for 6 months, I could not walk. I was paralyzed
Oh.
and I was in bed. And those days there were no neurosurgeons. The
Mm-hmm.
treatment for head injury was to be in a dark room for
Hmm.
6 months without any sound or light because that would precipitate a fits.
Hmm.
And so that put me in touch with some doctors. And when I saw, like, all the doctors who were treating me were all men,
Hmm.
obviously, but where I used to go for dressing for my wounds,
Hmm.
there the topper in that hospital while I was undergoing this treatment was a lady.
Hmm.
And she was like, she was all over the place.
Hmm.
I don't even remember her name, but I remember that she was there. And, it gave me so much joy. And so that led me to believe that there's nothing which I can't do. So at no point I felt that because I'm a woman or a girl at that time, I would get discriminated and I would push my way through everything. I
Hmm.
was all over the place. There was no way somebody could put me down. In
Okay.
fact, my teachers, they would say, when they would see me in the corridor, me and I also had one more friend, both of us were like this. They would say, Are, Yamdut aa gaye. Now they will ask us so many questions. They won't leave us. They would change their direction. We would go after them and ask them so many questions and not leave them. So, no. But yeah, then I went to PGI Chandigarh, and again, I had no issues about being a woman or whatever discrimination was there was normal. Like,
Okay.
some students are favorite, some students are not favorite. Sometimes you fall out of favor, and you have your own weaknesses. I was not the most pleasant person in the world. As I said, I was very, pushy, and some people didn't like that, or I was very loud, and some people didn't like that. So, yeah, people had their own favorite teachers and students. So, those challenges happened. But when I had to join Retina,
Mm-hmm.
which is, the back film of the eye at
Mm-hmm.
Hyderabad,
Mm-hmm.
that was the first time because I did very well in the interview and I wanted to be a retina specialist. And at that time, there were no women retina specialists in the country, hardly anybody. It
Hmm.
was a totally male dominated field. In
Hmm.
fact, during my interview, when I said I want to join retina, they all were looking very strangely at me. And
Hmm.
that was the first time I realized that I was going to do something different. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that, somebody would look at me like that. I thought
Uh-huh.
it's very natural. I want to be retina specialist. And then, as Providence would have it, the head of retina department that day was unwell and was not in the interview board. His reputation, later I came to know, was that for 10 years he had never taken a woman specialist as his student
Hmm.
because he said that women are not for retina. But
Hmm.
by chance that day he was not there. I did very well and I was selected.
Hmm.
And it seems that this was the buzz on that day that there's a lady who wants to do retina. And they went to his house. He was unwell and told him, "We have selected a lady in your department."
Huh.
Then, after 5 days, when he was well and I still had 2 weeks to join, he called me specially
Uh-huh.
and then he gave me a 1 hour lecture. He was a very nice gentleman.
Hmm.
And he was like, I don't think you should be in retina. It's not for women.
Mm.
And whatever he was saying was bouncing off my head. Like it didn't register in me at all.
Okay.
He said, like, are you ready to cut your hair? You know, I have very long hair,
Huh.
a big bun.
Huh.
Because I could not imagine how I'm going to wear that contraption on my head
Uh-huh.
without cutting my hair. He said, are you ready to cut your hair? Are you ready to work, 24/7 because you have a child who's 4 years old? This was my elder son, not the younger one about whom I told you. This was in 91. And he said, every day you will come and say, he's unwell, I have to go home, he's having fever. And, so my department will not work and you still have only one child and later you may get pregnant and have another child and, so all sorts of things. And I was just listening. It didn't register to me. I said, thank you, sir, for the welcome. And I hope I'll make you change your mind about women. And in 6 months, he had recommended me for faculty, although my course was 2 years. I have a record that till today, in last 30 years, I have not taken a single day off for my child's fever.
Wow.
Never, ever. And I have organized things in such a way that they were taken care of. And I did not have to take off. And one day, what happened is that, then of course I was pregnant and it took off for my second pregnancy and that was complicated. So I had to take longer time off. And then one day he had backache. And then he had to take off for 3 months.
Yeah.
Then I said, sir, everybody has to take off and people get pain. किसी को आगे होता है, किसी को पीछे होता है, छुट्टी तो लेना पड़ता है. And of course, male colleagues have taken leave for their fractures and their, different things. Anyway, but I must tell you that my teacher, who initially was very skeptical about me being a woman, has been my biggest fan. He's been my biggest supporter. All these years, 30 years, if I have done something, it's because of him. He's always supported me through thick and thin. He has tolerated my pushing nature and my speaking out loud and all sorts of things. He has tolerated me all these years, and we've had a very, very good, relationship. And
तो आखिरकार आपने जीत ही लिया.
हाँ, तो मतलब अब मेरे बाद तो बहुत सारी लेडीज को उन्होंने लिया. A lot of women have joined our department now. I think we have more women in our department than men, or maybe equal. We're discriminating against men. So yeah, now we have many, many women retina surgeons, and we have many other surgeons in our hospital. But I think that, changing that. So I don't think that he had anything against women. He told he likes women, but I think they had not been exposed to women. Who in that department, and so they were skeptical. How will they manage? Will they be able to do it? It's a very each surgery lasts 3-4 hours as compared to other surgeries in eye which last for 15-20 minutes. So they were thinking that these women look very frail. I was
होगा कि नहीं. Yeah.
But it's not at all difficult. We have nimble hands. We do better surgeries than others. One day, one of my students, male students, he was watching me doing surgery, and normally they are supposed to watch on the television. The operation is shown on the television. But he was breathing down my neck and trying to see what I was doing. So I was feeling very uncomfortable because his head was somewhere here. So I said, "What are you trying to see?" He said, "Ma'am, I'm trying to see how you're moving your hands slowly." And then I also want to do that. I said, for that you have to be born with a woman's hands. No, men are excellent surgeons and so are women. I think it's just a matter of practice and the mind. But yes, that was the only time that, I felt like I was sort of talked about being a woman. And another time, immediately after I joined, I was invited to a conference as a guest speaker. That was my first invitation as a guest speaker within 8 months of my joining as a student. This was in Vizag. And it was a retina meeting and there was no other lady on the dais. I was the only one and I was the junior most. And obviously there was a lot of anticipation. It was the first time anybody was hearing a woman retina person. I was still a student. And I think I gave a good lecture, and at the end of it, everybody clapped and all. And then there were women there were women doctors in the audience. In the lunchtime, they came to me and they told me, Madam, were you not scared sitting on the dais with all those men around? I said, why should I be scared? Maybe
Yeah.
they were scared because they had to discipline themselves. They could not talk roughly in front of me. Was as I was. Maybe they had to change. They had to look at their pants zip, or they had to look at their tie and shirt, or they had to talk decently in front of me. If I am not there, they may talk something. So they were alert. And when they
Okay.
tell I was the way I was.
Good one. I like that. That very nice attitude. Yeah. You know, that really helps you, not to worry about what is happening otherwise because you are all yourself. That's a
Yeah,
I liked I remember when I was in doing my last year engineering, L&T was very clear. I had gotten into medicine, but I couldn't afford to go to another place, so I decided to get into engineering, and I did my civil engineering. But in the last year, I was a topper. But then L&T was very clear: no women, no women, and no women. No matter how good score you are, I was very upset at that time, but I had no way to go and tell them, look, you cannot discriminate. But they had their own set of rules saying कि भाई आप construction के ऊपर कैसे चढ़ के जाओगे and all that kind of thing.
बोला
I did
जाएंगे हम तो
everything.
एक तो लो ना जब मजदूर औरतें इतनी बड़ी बड़ी चढ़ नहीं चढ़ती है सर पे
Exactly, yeah.
those women मजदूर
Huh?
वाली हैं don't they go up
Yeah. So it never happened. So I do
do they
understand
take
what you
now
want.
women engineers or they
Yes, yeah, they do.
now
Yeah,
they do
yeah. We
how
were
they
only
like it
two girls, and there were about 80 students. All were the boys. So out of whole engineering college, only five girls were there. So I know what we had to face, and I was like, I would always say I can do everything. I did go to all construction site when I started working. I did climb up the buildings, and I
yeah
did
we can all claim what's the big deal
everything. Yeah, it's a but an experience to learn. We become the torch holders for others. They can follow us, and they see that you can do it. Then why can't others do it? So you become a role model for others. So, and what advice would you like to give to young women who are joining the healthcare fraternity, based on your experience and then the changes that you see from 90s to now?
yeah not advice but I would suggest that organize your things. I'm a very disorganized person otherwise, but yes, organize your things for your family. Make sure that things are there, they're happening even if you are not there. Organize those things. Don't be worried about multitasking.
Mhm.
You can do a lot. I'll just give you a small example. On a particular Thursday,
Mhm.
I was expected to be at three places all at the same time.
Hmm.
So on Tuesday, my husband told me my friend is coming from Calcutta on Thursday. He's an examiner. He loves to sing. My husband also loves to sing. So we will have a singing session, and after that, drinks and all, and then dinner at home. He loves Kashmiri, mutton, yakni. So he is going to come, and we are going to have him on dinner. He's going to be here that whole evening, night, late night. I said, okay, no big deal. My servant, who's been with me for 30 years, she knows how to cook everything. So she will cook and all, and I will also join after coming from work. I usually come home at 9. So then I called my servant and I told her on Tuesday that, Thursday guests are coming and you need to be there. And she told me, oh, you don't remember on Thursday is my son's first birthday and you
Hmm.
are supposed to be in my house for dinner. Now, सारी खुदाई एक तरफ और अपनी बाई की family एक तरफ. So, I can throw out my husband and his friend, but I have to attend the birthday of my servant. उसका first birthday है तो मुझे उधर होना है.
Yeah.
चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए. So she said, I'm not even coming to your house on that day.
Yeah.
I said, okay. And then in my office, they told me on Thursday, same Thursday,
Hmm.
I was head of department. One of my colleagues had finished his job and he was leaving, and his farewell dinner was on Thursday
Oh.
in the hotel next to my hospital.
Hmm.
So everything is happening at 8:39 in the night.
Uh-huh.
And I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a housewife with a servant, and I'm a boss of my department. And
Uh-huh.
I cannot ignore any of these three. Most women, what they will do is they will tell everybody, I have a dinner at home and I
Hmm.
have to be with my family and my husband, and I cannot take care of other things. But no,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I did all three. And I will tell you
Wow.
how I did it. So I purchased all the mutton, everything on Wednesday. I cooked everything on Wednesday evening. The whole
Mm,
dinner I cooked and put in the freezer.
mm,
And then I told my husband, as I told, he's very cooperative. I told him, when you come home, I may not be there,
mm.
but everything will be ready. You start your drinks and everything. And by the time you finish your drinks and singing, which obviously will take a couple of hours, I will
Uh-huh.
be there.
Uh,
So then so on Thursday, I came at 5 o'clock, little early. I took 1 hour off. I
mhm,
came at 5. I prepared all the snacks, the glasses, ice, everything I laid out on the table. I took out everything from the freezer. I prepared my children and dropped my child and the Mallaka children at my servant's house
mm,
and told them, you blow up balloons and fix up the buntings and all. At 6 o'clock, I dropped them.
mm,
And then at 7, I went to my farewell dinner.
mm,
Between 7 and 8:30, I was there. I gave my speeches. I said goodbye to my colleague,
mm,
and I had snacks and drinks with them.
mm,
And 8:30, then 9, I reached home back. So I didn't
mm.
have dinner there. I just had the snacks and the initial, drinks and all. I don't drink. I mean, whatever juice and all. And by 9, 5, I was at home, and my husband and his friend had just arrived, and they were just pouring their first drink. So then I made pakoras. I gave them hot food and everything. And by 10 o'clock, I left from there because they were singing and drinking and they were in their own this thing. I laid the table, everything. 10 o'clock, I went to my servant's house. I danced, I sang. We had the birthday party of Gotham, gave her gifts, everything. And then 11 o'clock, bundled all the children back to in my car to the house. And then 11 o'clock, I was back with my husband and his friend, gave them dinner, and then of course I'm the chauffeur of the family. They were all drunk. Then 1 a.m. dropped the friend in his hotel. So yes, we can do everything. Oh, it
Everything.
only requires planning. It
Uh-huh,
requires hard work,
uh-huh,
and it requires zest, energy to
uh-huh,
enjoy all your roles. Each
uh-huh,
role is very important for me,
uh-huh.
and I that's what I want to tell the women, that enjoy your life. Whatever, it's not necessary for you to do what I do. You
Mm,
may do only one, you may not do any of them, you may want to meditate and sit, but whatever you
mm.
do with your heart, do with your full energy, do with full truthfulness to yourself and to people around you, and you will really enjoy. This is only one life we have.
सही बात है.
And don't so I'll just tell you, recently one of my juniors colleagues, they said that, madam, it is 8 o'clock in the night and it's difficult for me to go home,
Mm,
and I should be left little early.
mm,
I told her, I said, you have to organize your safety. I know it is unsafe, but we cannot depend on the state or somebody else or some brother or husband to take care of us. We have to organize our safety. We have to think,
mm,
what is it that I have to do, whether it is pepper or whether it is kung fu or whether it is arranging a driver whom you know, or arranging an escort to take you, or talking to the management and telling them that I need a security wala to drop
mhm,
me in my
mhm.
house, whatever it is. We must not say that I cannot work many hours or I cannot work late in the night or early morning because I feel unsafe.
Oh, mm.
We must organize our safety. We must see, we have to be safe. It's
Yeah.
very unsafe world. In
Yes.
the house it is unsafe, outside house also it is unsafe. Every
Yeah.
place is unsafe
Yeah.
for a woman.
Yes.
And we must be aware of the unsafeties from your own relatives to your, and we must also make our children, whether it is boys or girls, aware of
Mm,
unsafe situations.
yeah.
But we must learn to make ourselves safe,
Safe.
ourselves.
Independent also. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
That was a very good suggestion. And so, with I will ask a last question. Do you have any incident or anything that you think made you feel that you are very satisfied with what you have done? That any time that you feel okay, especially with the downtime when you see something and then you remember that incident and say, okay, I feel at least I have done. I'm so satisfied. Kind of any incident that you feel you would want to tell others and share with us.
We are very lucky that as doctors, every day we feel very blessed.
Mm-hmm.
We do so much. But I'll tell you, the one of the very interesting things happened when I was a student at PGI Chandigarh. There
Mm-hmm.
was a girl from a poor family who had lost one eye. And
Mm-hmm.
when you lose one eye, that eye will look white or small and it will look very disfigured face. She
Yeah.
was, I think, 10-year-old. and she came, and there was no treatment for her. And her father had taken her to Alganj, to Saharanpur, to Aligarh, to Sitapur, all the famous eye hospitals. And he was going around trying to find a cure for his daughter.
Mhm.
And when we told him that, there's no cure. But
Mhm.
what we can do is to give a cosmetically good appearance by putting an artificial eye. So
Mhm.
the artificial eye just costs 100 rupees. So
Mhm.
I still remember she was on the table, and I just fit that artificial eye into her eye, and
Mhm.
I made her sit up and look at herself in the mirror. I
Mhm.
cannot tell you the face, the smile.
Mhm.
There was glow on her face. If you have not seen God, you would have seen. And suddenly I realized that this girl every day morning has been looking at herself in the mirror for last, I don't know how many days, and has been hating herself and looking at the disfigured eye. And she must have felt so small. She must have felt so much inferior. And her friends must have been teasing her, and nobody will be playing with her, telling her Kani, Kani, things like that, blind, one-eyed, things like that. And suddenly, without having done anything, I mean, this could have been done in any hospital where she had been to, but
Mhm.
nobody did this for her.
Mhm.
Nobody told that, get 100 rupees ka aank and we will put it there and that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
So then I realized that, simple solutions can bring so much joy. I think that day I realized that, my role is not just to give a medicine or to, give a surgery, but it is to understand the person.
Exactly. Yeah.
Another patient
Absolutely.
may not, have any worry about a white eye.
Mhm.
So I'll give another instance. We had a 70-year-old lady
Mhm.
who came, and she said that she wanted to have surgery for cross eyes,
Mhm.
one eye looking outside. Now,
Yeah.
her cross eyed had been there for ages, like when she was 20 years old. And
Mhm.
all my department was laughing. Are Dadi Ma ko, what does she want to have a cross eye surgery now?
Mhm.
Why does she want to look better? She's so old now. But we have to understand the patient. I talked to her, I asked her, I said, why do you want to have surgery now for the crossed eye? You know what she told me? She said, I have had crossed eye all my life. I married with that crossed eye, nothing happened. But you know what? My son is in USA, and I
Mhm.
am going there. And
Yeah.
how he will feel in front of those white people that
Yeah.
his mother is cross-eyed. So now I want to have surgery so that my son and his friends will see a normal Indian woman and not a
Mhm.
cross-eyed woman.
That's so
There's
nice
so
of
much emotion. There was so much understanding. I said, please get her surgery done. Everybody was saying, like, why should we get her surgery done?
you.
Amma, no need for surgery. Rene do. I said, no, no, no. See, so what I want to say is that this is what I realized, that don't treat just the disease, treat the whole person. Know your
Person. Exactly.
nicely. So every patient, I know them so well.
Yeah.
And I make small notes in my file, which many doctors don't. I just write somewhere, her husband had a fall or
Mm.
something there. So when they come next time after 6 months, 1 year, how's your husband? They say, oh, madam, you remember?
Yeah. That.
I said, no, I don't remember. I have noted it down, but yes, I care. I care for you,
That's very
So
nice of you. It's wholeheartedly, you get involved in them a lot and then try to understand from in and out. That's very nice of you, doctor. That's so nice. Is there anything that you feel that uh, we women should should be aware of? And like, of course, the whole talk was about this: be independent and you should find your own solution for any kind of challenges that you face. Apart from that, when it comes to work-life balance, do you have any suggestions?
yeah, as I said that, the don't try to do work-life balance. Actually, I don't like this word balance. Balance,
Mhm.
say, I remember that monkey with the two, cats. Ki, iska usko de do roti, fir iska isko do roti, and try to balance. No, don't do that. I like to think that my life is like a woven thing. It
Uh-huh.
has family, it has work. When I was working in 91, 92, my kids were small. I used to take them to hospital
Uh,
because they need to see what mom is doing. See, a
uh-huh.
small child's psychology is that mama is getting ready. She must have gone to a party 6 o'clock in the morning, or she must have gone to a mall, or she
Yeah.
must have gone for some good food in the restaurant. How do they know there's something called a workplace? you know
Uh,
so they think mama is leaving them, and the whole media and the society keeps on telling these children working mothers are bad, they don't
uh,
take care, So you need to break that myth. So my children, they used to go with me, they used to see, and my 7-year-old would tell his dadi. So dadi is like, well, see, mama is not coming early, she's coming at 10 o'clock. Call her, phone her, tell her to come early. My 7-year-old would tell her, dadi, mama is repairing eye of a baby. Do you want that baby to be blind? She will come. I
Uh-huh.
have not missed a single parent teacher meeting. I
Uh-huh.
leave my patients, I leave my surgery to attend my parent teacher meeting. So
Uh-huh.
it's not about balance. I think it's about weaving everything together.
Together.
Family, your work, your whole life, it's all one package. Don't try to compartmentalize.
Uh-huh.
Don't try to take from one and give to other. You
Uh-huh.
know, mix everything, get everybody together, your boss, your children, your mother-in-law. My mother-in-law is the queen of the house. The
Uh-huh.
day I got married, I said mother-in-law is always right,
Uh-huh.
and that is big written on my bedroom,
Uh-huh.
and my husband and family has to follow.
Uh-huh.
And every night for last 30 years at 11 o'clock in the night, I call her, whether I'm in London or I'm in India. 11 to 11:30 we talk. We are the
Uh-huh.
greatest friends.
Uh-huh.
So she takes care of many things in the house. She's my darling, I am her darling. And so what I'm saying is that, mix it,
Okay.
weave weave it together.
Uh-huh.
Don't try to balance.
Nice one. I liked it. Very nice suggestion. I think now I will remember not to use that word. Well, doctor, it's very nice of you to come and give your half an hour of your valuable time. Thank you so much. And with this, I end this discussion. Hope to see you soon in one of the consortium conference meeting. I would love to meet you and discuss with you, chat with you, whatever time you have. It's very nice and refreshing to see you so much, with so much dedication. You have been able to manage everything so well. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Thank you. This was so nice. I had to talk to you. I need to know more about you. I think we will have some good discussion someday.
Sure, sure, we will.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. It's been lovely. Happy International Women's Day.
You too. Thank you so much. Bye
Namaste.
bye.